السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نحمد الله تعالى ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم. أما بعد. Jazakumullah khair, Brother Fareed. Every year, alhamdulillah, you have been doing this a wonderful job. MashaAllah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you, your family, and may it be a means of sadaqah jariyah for you, your family, your parents, inshaAllah. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. With that being said, we are going to go over the Hajj process as well as Umrah and everything in between. This information, a lot of you might become overwhelmed with the amount of information I'm going to give today. I want you to just take it easy, relax, because you don't necessarily need to know everything and anything right now. As the process goes on, inshallah, you will become more and more familiar with this. I remember when we were studying Hajj in our Ulum al-Shar'iyya program, because I had not done Hajj before, it was really just something that went over my head. I understood it to the best of my abilities, but at the end of the day, the practicality is completely different, and you have a different perspective when you do it practically. So keep in mind that, inshallah, I will be available for questions throughout the Hajj. So don't worry about that. You can contact Brother Fareed. Brother Fareed will make arrangements, inshallah, for me to be available for any questions that you may have during the Hajj process. So you need not to be anxious on the process and what we are covering, and will you be able to remember all of this as well or not. I am going to, within the next day or two, send you a 2-page sheet that covers the whole Hajj. That will be a means of reference for you throughout your Hajj journey that you'll be able to look at. It's very simple, and inshallah, you will be able to go ahead and do that from there. With that being said, inshallah, let's go ahead and begin. This presentation is a bit long. There are certain extra things that I want to specifically focus on the fiqh of it, the virtues and things of that nature. You can, inshallah, do at another time, but I don't want to extend it too much because I understand you want to understand the fiqh of it, so I will limit it to that, inshallah. So first and foremost, this is also a question that was presented, the types of Hajj. So understand one thing, that when we go for Hajj, or anytime a person enters the sacred haram, the sacred boundaries or the sacred precinct in Makkah al-Mukarramah, we must be in the state of Ihram. Now, while we are in the state of Ihram, there are 3 types of things that we can do when we are going for Hajj. Number 1 is we perform Hajj Ifrad. But this is only for the person that stays in Mecca, so this does not apply to any of us. The 2 that can potentially apply to us that are going for Hajj is Hajj Tamattu' and Hajj Qiran. And I'll explain the difference between the 2. Hajj Tamattu' is what most people do. And what is that? They will go to Mecca, they will perform Umrah, and they will come out of their Ihram. Then on the 8th the day of Dhul-Hijjah, they will don the Ihram for Hajj, and then they will continue on to the rituals of Hajj. So it's easier because once you've performed your Umrah, you can now get out of your Ihram. If you're there, for example, on the 5th of Dhul-Hijjah, you can be out of your Ihram for the 6th, 7th, and when it's the 8th day, you can don your Ihram again and then be in the state of Ihram. That's an easier version. The more difficult aspect is that of Hajj Qiran. Qiran is that you go to Makkah al-Mukarramah, you perform your Umrah, but you do not get out of the state of Ihram. You continue to stay in the state of Ihram until your Hajj is done. So for example, if you get to Mecca on the 4th of Dhul-Hijjah, you've performed your Umrah. Now, even after you've performed your Umrah in the state that you are doing Qiran, you are going to continue to stay in the state of Ihram until the Hajj is done. Obviously, this is incurring much more difficulty, much more challenge, and because of which, according to the Ahnaf, this is more rewarding. However, it is very, very challenging when you're going early to stay in the state of Ihram for an additional days, especially when we are not accustomed to doing so. So I would not recommend it, but if a person does want to, then they are more than welcome to go in that. We will focus on Hajj Tamattu' because most people will be performing Hajj Tamattu', which is when they go to Makkah al-Mukarramah, they will get in the state of Ihram. They will leave the state of Ihram once they have performed Umrah, and then they will go back into the Hajj. They will continue to don the Ihram at that moment in time. Now, questions about Ihram: when, what, and how. When to come into Ihram? First and foremost, a person asked a question similar to this. If a person is going to Medina first, even if they land in Jeddah, they will not need to put the Ihram on. They will land in Jeddah, they will take the train or bus or car ride, whatever it may be, and they will go straight to Medina. There is no need to put Ihram on at that point in time. When you are going from Medina to Mecca is when you will go to Masjid Dhul-Hulayfa and you will don the Ihram at that time. If you are going to Mecca, if it's a direct flight, for example, you are going from, I don't know if there are any direct flights from, maybe if you're going from Washington and you got a direct flight to Jeddah, at that point you will put the Ihram on at some point in the plane, or you can do it even before you get onto the plane. But do not make intention yet. Why you do not make intention? So Ihram is not limited to just wearing the two pieces of cloth, but it's also making the intention that I am now in the state of Ihram. So if you just put the two pieces of cloth on, like if I just go and put the pieces of Ihram on right now, I am not in the state of Ihram. Once I make intention that I am going to perform Umrah or Hajj or whatever it may be, then at that point is when I will actually become in the state of Ihram. Why you do not want to put the make the intention earlier is because you're just incurring unnecessary difficulty upon yourself. Transit flight, keep into ihram during stopover. Come into ihram during the stopover and keep ihram on hand. For example, if you're flying Turkish Airlines, you're going to stop in Turkey. In Turkey is when you can go ahead and put the ihram on. Again, you don't need to make intention right away. As you are going on the plane, they generally do announce that you can go ahead and make intention now. If you do go ahead and make intention earlier, it's not a problem. Now, when we are going into Makkah al-Mukarramah, these are the different miqats. For example, if I am flying in, these are the points that we are going to be passing, and this is when we are passing from these areas or when we are coming from that direction is where we need to put the ihram on. So if you can look on the top, you will see Al-Madinah. Al-Madinah is where we are going to, for those that are going to Medina first. Now, for those that are coming from Al-Madinah, Dhul-Hulayfa is their miqat, meaning they need to, when they get to Dhul-Hulayfa, be in the state of Ihram and then come in within the boundaries, because of which they will now be in the state of Ihram. For those of us, for majority of us, will probably be flying into Jeddah, and that is where we will make sure we are already in the state of Ihram when we are entering. What is Ihram? Ihram does not mean only to wear two pieces of cloth. Rather, Ihram is a condition the person comes into after making number one, intention, as well as the talbiyah. This makes certain things that were lawful for him before that are now going to be unlawful for them. For example, cutting hair, cutting your nails, putting scent on, and we'll go into that in a little more detail. Hence, if someone wants to change the cloth of ihram clothes or clothes for women after donning it, it is permissible. We are not limited to just wearing those two pieces of cloth. We can change out to another two pieces of cloth that are of the same material that fit the condition of ihram. That is also another question someone asked: can we change our ihram out to another ihram? Yes, we can, following the guidelines and conditions. Things to do from home, of course, we want to make sure we leave in a clean state, physically as well as spiritually. We want to do whatever we can before we get into the state of ihram. If you look at these slippers, these are the conditions. This is the type of slipper that would be okay for men. as well as these are the two pieces of cloth. This pouch is okay to wear during the state of ihram, as well as knee braces, sunglasses, shades. These are all things that are okay. A backpack is okay. These are certain questions that have been asked, and I'm going to answer them as we are moving along, as long as I remember them, inshallah. Now, when we want to get into the state of ihram, let's just assume we are at the Turkey airport or we are even at Masjid al-Hulayfa, right? We are going to perform 2 rak'ahs salah, making sure that we are avoiding any makruh or disliked times. The first rak'ah, we are going to recite Surah Kafirun, and the second rak'ah, we are going to recite Surah Ikhlas. We can at this time cover our heads because we are not in the state of ihram yet. After that, however, we have to remove any head covering for men, and then we are going to make niyyah for umrah. We are going to recite the talbiyah, labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik, innal hamda wan ni'mata laka wal mulk la sharika lak. Once we have stated that, we are now going to be in the state of ihram, and we also send salawat on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Brother Farid or Brother Wasim, would you like me to answer these questions that are in the chat as I am going, or do you want me to leave that for the end?
I mean, if you want to address it, it's fine, but otherwise we'll do a Q&A at the end.
I think it's Brother Mufti Ahmed. Probably leave it to the end so that you're
Okay.
not interrupted with the questions.
Correct, because so I'm just going to ignore them for now, inshallah.
Yeah, ignore
You
it for
are more than
now.
welcome to continue posting them, but I am not paying
Right.
attention to that. If there is anything urgent that needs to be addressed, Brother Farid, you may just go ahead and text me,
Sure.
inshallah. The talbiyah that we are to be reciting will be labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik, innal hamda wan ni'mata laka wal mulk la sharika lak. These are certain things that we need to be mindful of that we are not doing while we are in the state of ihram. Remember, when we are performing umrah or when we are performing hajj, these are the rules that apply to each and every one of us. Number one, wearing perfume. Using perfumed items such as soap or toothpaste or even wipes that are scented. Clipping the nails or removing hair. Covering the head for men. Wearing any sewn clothing or undergarments for men. Killing lice or insect, intimate talk or actions even between the husband and wife. These are all things that a person is not allowed to do. Some are specific to men and some are general for both men and women. So when we are traveling, please make sure you do go ahead and purchase yourself some soap that is unscented, as well as toothpaste that is unscented, as well as wipes that are unscented to make the journey easy, inshallah. Things that are permissible: wearing rings, glasses, hearing aids, money belts as a pouch, as I mentioned, changing the ihram clothing, taking a bath, shower without rubbing rigorously. Why this condition is mentioned at the end is because to take out any hair is not allowed. So we want to do it in a manner that we are not rubbing to the point where we are potentially pulling some hair out. Even if we don't rub rigorously, we should still give some sadaqah. That way, if by chance or mistake we did take some hair out, it can inshallah be covered within that sadaqah amount. Covering oneself when resting, avoid the face and head. That part cannot be covered for men. Odorless Vaseline and anything odorless can be used. Using miswak, but not toothpaste. Again, toothpaste, the condition is if you do want to use it, it must be unscented. During the journey, of course, we want to make as much dhikr, stay away from sin, and make sure that we are performing all of our prayers. We are going to be performing Salatul Qasr throughout our journey. Remember, when we arrive at Jeddah, keep in mind, please keep in mind that there are millions of people that are going to the same destinations as we are. We want to be mindful that things may not go as planned. It's very difficult. It's a lot of people going at the same places at the same time. So be mindful. This is a journey of patience. It will test your patience over and over again. but that is how we want to keep in mind and encourage others as well in a polite manner, that be patient. These are the challenges that we are going to be facing throughout the time. Of course, at the hotel, inshallah, Brother Freed will be guiding you as to how we want to go about it. When the site of the first Kaaba, there are multiple things we want to do, but of course, remember that this is a time for du'as to be readily accepted. So you want to make sure, if it's possible, you get a site of the Kaaba and immediately begin to make du'a of all the things that you have wanted to make du'a for, as well as those that have requested for du'as. Now, once we reach Makkatul Mukarramah, we are now, every one of us must perform Umrah. This is anyone who goes into Makkatul Mukarramah must perform Umrah. There are four things, four steps that we need to be mindful of when we are performing Umrah. Number one is Ihram. We've already covered that. When we get to Mecca, we are already in the state of Ihram. The next thing we need to be mindful of is doing Tawaf. After we do Tawaf, we are going to do Sa'i. What is Tawaf? Tawaf is going around the Kaaba 7 times, starting from the green light, and you will see that inshallah in the pictures that are to come. Sa'i is running between Safa and Marwa 7 times. Once will be Safa to Marwa, 2 will be Marwa to Safa, and similarly it will go like this for 7 times. We will begin at Safa, and our 7th one will end at Marwa. And last but not least, it will be halaq and shaving, whichever one a person prefers. Shaving is, of course, more rewarding, but a person can cut their hair to a certain amount, and that will be okay, and that will get them out of the state of ihram. Those are the only 4 things that you need to be mindful of when you are performing Umrah. Remember that wudu is obligatory. You must have wudu when you are performing tawaf. Now, if you are performing tawaf, tawaf is 7 rounds around the Kaaba. If you break your wudu before the 4th round, meaning you've only completed less than 4, anything less than 4, you will have to restart the 7 rounds. If you break your wudu after the 4th one, meaning in the 5th or 6th or even the 7th one, you will only make up for that amount that is remaining. Now, this is a feature that you can understand. If you can look at this area right here, this is the starting point for the tawaf. This line right here. You're going to see a green light that is going to indicate where this is. If you, of course, you're not going to be able to get that close to the Kaaba, but you will have that green light that will indicate it's going to be in this area, that you're going to see that is where Hajj Aswad is, and that is where you are going to begin the 7 circles. When we start the tawaf, sorry about that. When we begin the tawaf, we are going to stop reciting the talbiyah, the labbaik Allahumma labbaik, which we should have been reciting throughout the journey up until this point, and we are going to observe ittiba'. Ittiba', if you can see, is the right shoulder for men to be uncovered. The right shoulder will be uncovered, and only the left shoulder will be covered. That is going to indicate that we are in the state of ittiba'. We will do this for the first 3 rounds. After that, inshallah, you can go ahead and you should cover your shoulders. Make sure that Hajj Aswad is on the Kaaba rather is on our left side at all times. That means we are going in the right direction, and it should be in that way that we are going towards the direction in which the Kaaba is on our left side. When we go begin the tawaf, we are going to look in the direction of the Kaaba towards Hajj Aswad. We are going to raise our hand, Bismillahi Allahu Akbar, kiss them, and then we are now going to begin our tawaf. This is our first tawaf, first circle, and we must do this 7 times. Istilam is the process where I just demonstrated. We are going to look at the Kaaba towards Hajj Aswad. Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. Kiss our hands and begin our tawaf. After the 7th round, this just the bottom, it is a sunnah mu'akkada to go ahead and also do istilam. So we will do it at the first, beginning with it, as well as ending with it. So it will be a total of 8 times. This is the green light that I was talking about that is going to represent where Hajj Aswad is and where we need to begin our tawaf. Another important aspect that we need to be mindful of is the concept of ramal. For the first 3 rounds, men not only are going to expose their right shoulder, but they are also going to walk hastily, taking short steps, pushing their chest out and moving their shoulders. This is a representation of course, when the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba were doing it, the Quraysh looked at the Muslims and they were like, oh, these are weak people. So the Prophet ﷺ told them to do ramal to show strength and power. So it is sunnah to do that in the first 3 rounds. Women will walk normally, and no ramal to be done in the remaining 4 rounds. It is only to be done in the first 3. If one forgot to do ramal in the first 3 rounds, then do not do ramal in the other rounds, as ramal is only sunnah in the first 3 rounds. So if you miss it, you miss it. Now, there are multiple things that you can do while you are going throughout the tawaf. You can recite Quran, you can do adhkar, you can make dua. Generally, certain things that I've picked up from my teachers is that throughout every round, we want to focus on one thing that we want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us, and we continue to ask and beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. However, the corner right before Hajj Aswad is called Rukn Yamani. It is the corner that is in the direction of Yemen. And from that corner until Hajj Aswad, it is sunnah to recite رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Certain things that we want to be mindful of during the process of making tawaf is do not talk about worldly affairs. Do not gaze at the Kaaba, because right now it is the point to go ahead and, of course, do the circumambulation, which is the tawaf. Read in a low voice. You can read in a loud voice or collectively, but be mindful that there are hundreds of other people around you, thousands of people around you, and you do not want to disturb them. For the tawaf, followed by a sa'i, one will do ittiba' as well as ramal in the first 3 rounds. Which means, if I am just going to perform tawaf and I've already done my umrah, everything, I'm just there, and now I want to do tawaf, of course I will not do, there's not going to be any sa'i after this, because when we're just doing a tawaf, meaning we're there for a few days, I'm like, you know what, let me go ahead and perform some more tawaf for reward. That's completely okay, but in that case, we will not do ittiba', which is keeping the right shoulder uncovered, because of course we're not going to even be in the state of ihram, and neither will we do ramal. Do not touch Hajj Aswad and Rukn Yamani in the state of ihram, as there is usually a lot of perfume on them. This is something that, of course, even if you were not in the state of ihram, or even if you wanted to, chances are very low of even touching Hajj Aswad at the time of Hajj and Rukn Yamani. So be very mindful. Please be mindful if you do intend to go and touch Hajj Aswad. It is extremely crowded and there's a very high chance of you getting harmed. If jama'ah commences while you are doing tawaf, then go ahead and stop and join the salah and then commence from where you left off. As I said, wudu is compulsory when we are making tawaf. Do not kiss or make istilam of maqam Ibrahim. There is no such thing as kissing or making istilam of maqam Ibrahim. Istilam is, again, raising our hands to Hajj Aswad and then kissing it. That is only for Hajj Aswad, not maqam Ibrahim. After tawaf, we can now, of course, cover our shoulders. We are now going to perform 2 rak'ahs of wajib al-tawaf behind maqam Ibrahim. I'm going to tell you now, you are not going to be able to pray right behind maqam Ibrahim, so don't do it. You can go anywhere in the haram where you see space and then go ahead and make the 2 rak'ahs. Make dua multazam or in the front if possible. Drink zamzam, and then thereafter you go ahead and go. You can head towards the sa'i now to make sa'i, the rounds between Safa and Marwa. This area is what is known as the multazam on the left side of the door of the Kaaba, where you can go ahead and in that direction you can perform the 2 rak'ahs. If you can't, then or istilam rather, and if you can't, it's not a big deal. So that was the first aspect of the Umrah, or the second aspect. We've already covered Ihram, we've already covered Tawaf now. Now we are going to go to the second, third, and fourth aspect of Umrah, which is Sa'i. Sa'i is to go from Safa to Marwa. And the last thing that we will cover is the shaving or cutting of the hair. So sa'i is simple. We are going to make intention of sa'i when we begin from Safa, and then we are going to go towards Marwa. Stand facing the Qibla, raising your hands in your dua. When you go to Safa, you are going to do this. When you are going to Mina, you are going to do the Marwa. Sorry, you are going to do this. Do not raise your hands like in Takbir Tahrima. We don't need to do that. Recite takbir and recite tahleel, recite salawat, the fourth kalima, and then dua, and then begin. We are going to continuously do this when we get to Safa and when we get to Marwa. You are going to see as you are going through Safa and Marwa that there's going to be green lights. These green lights indicate this is the place where we are going to walk very fast, to the point that we are almost jogging, but not necessarily. And this was the sunnah of our mother Hajj alayhi salatu wassalam. This is what the green lights look like where we are going to. Understand that there are 3 different floors from which we can be doing it. Generally, the third floor is the most empty, and of course the main floor is the one that is most packed. So be mindful on which one you are going to. Important points to do regarding sa'i. Understand that we've already performed our tawaf and we've performed our 2 rak'ahs. After we've performed our 2 rak'ahs, wudu is no longer necessary to perform the rest of the rituals. So now if you don't have wudu, it's completely okay. You can continue doing the rituals. It is permissible to do sa'i on the ground floor and permissible on the top floors. Wudu is preferable but not necessary, and it is not necessary to climb right up to Safa. You can go ahead and climb to a height where you can see the Kaaba. Chances are you are not going to be able to see the Kaaba, which is fine. Dam will become wajib by doing sa'i on a wheelchair without excuse. If you have excuse because of walking, old age, sickness, whatever it may be, there is an excuse for you to do it on a wheelchair. Generally, there are people there that can push you around, or you can go ahead and buy a wheelchair and have someone push you around. There are multiple ways you can go ahead about that. Last thing that is left for our Umrah is now to cut our hair, shave, or trim. If we're going to trim, it must be at the length of 1 finger joint. If we're going to shave, that is more preferred. After we have done this, now we have completed our Umrah. All right? So we all went to Jeddah, or we went to Medina. From Medina or Jeddah, whichever one, we went to Mecca. We were in the state of Ihram. We performed our Umrah. Now we are out of the state of Ihram. Let's assume we did this on the 5th of Dhul-Hijjah, that we performed our Umrah. That means for the 6th and 7th, we are no longer in the state of Ihram because we are all performing Hajj Tamattu'. If we were performing Hajj Qiran, which is the Hajj in which we perform our Umrah, we stay in our Ihram until we have performed the rituals of Hajj. Then of course we will continue in the state of Ihram. But that is not what we are doing. We are doing Hajj Tamattu'. Now, while we are in Mecca, there are multiple things that we can be doing. You want to perform more tawaf, you want to perform another umrah, you may do so. If you want to perform another umrah, you will go to Masjid Aisha. Masjid Aisha is about 10-15 minutes away. You will put the ihram on there. You can put the ihram, the two pieces of cloth on from your hotel. That's no problem. When you go to Masjid Aisha is where you will perform the two rak'ahs. You will make the niyyah from there. And then you will come back to Mecca. Well, it is in the Mecca, but you will come back to the Haram and you will go ahead and perform another umrah there. What is more virtuous in regards to making more tawaf or making more umrahs? The opinion is that it is more virtuous to perform more tawaf, but if a person wants to perform umrah on behalf of a deceased member or whoever it may be, there is no harm in doing so, but just keep throwing that out there. Now we are going to talk about the 5 days of Hajj. The 5 days of Hajj. Again, for the 5 days of Hajj, I am going to send you a sheet that will make everything very simple for you on what to do and when to do. So don't become anxious on it, but I'm just going to cover it now. So the 5 days of Hajj begin on the 8th of Dhul-Hijjah. That is the day we are going to go to Mina. We are going to put our ihram on at our hotels, and then we are going to go to Mina. Mina at this point will, you can say, be our home. It will be what we will call from this point onwards home base. So that will be our point of return from anywhere. While we are in Mina, one time we are going to go to Arafah. Then we are going to go from the plain of Arafah, we are going to go to Muzdalifah. Then we are going to go back to home base. Home base is again Mina, right? After we have reached there, we are going to fulfill some actions on the 10th of Dhul-Hijjah, come back to Mina, which is our home base. Same thing with 11th and the 12th of Dhul-Hijjah. So Mina will now be our home base where we are going to go anywhere else, but anytime we need to return, we are going back to Mina. What to take, understand that there's a lot of people, you don't want to take too many things. Just take some Quran, dua books, musalla, and things that are absolute essentials for you to stay for the next couple of days. You will be in the state of ihram for about a day and a half, 2 days while you are in Mina. So pack accordingly. 1 or 2 pairs of clothing should be more than enough for you to stay in Mina. Now, day 1 of the days of Hajj, which will be on the 8th of Dhul-Hijjah. It is sunnah to depart from Mina after sunrise. Any time after sunrise, it is okay for you to leave to go. However, a lot of tour operators decide to leave the night before to avoid rush, and there is no harm in doing so. You are going to wear your ihram in the hotel. It is necessary to go to Masjid it is not necessary, sorry. However, if a person does go to ihram to put their ihram on in the masjid, then there is nothing wrong. You will not go to miqat. Make intention for Hajj and then go ahead and perform talbiyah, which is labbaik Allahumma labbaik. If one wishes to perform sa'i of Hajj, which is normally performed after tawaf ziyarah, which is the main tawaf, you may do so. However, a sa'i cannot be performed without tawaf, hence you will perform a nafl tawaf and then sa'i. Meaning running between Safa and Marwa is not an ibadah in and of itself. It must be combined with a tawaf. So if I want to do the sa'i right now and get it over with, that's fine. But I must do a tawaf, the 7 rounds around the Kaaba, before I can go ahead and do a sa'i. So now we are going to be in Mina on the 8th of Dhul-Hijjah. We are going to perform 5 salahs. Granted that we left after any time after sunrise or even before then, no problem. The main count we're going to start our count from is Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha of the 8th of Dhul-Hijjah. And then the next day, the 9th of Dhul-Hijjah, the Fajr, we are going to perform in Mina. And of course, if one is a Shar'i traveler, he will perform Qasr in Mecca, in Mina and Mecca, which we will all be. It is sunnah to spend the night in Mina. What does that mean? Meaning, is it sunnah to stay the whole day in Mina? Or is the actual sunnah to stay the nights in Mina? The sunnah aspect of the idea of staying in Mina is that it is sunnah to stay the nights in Mina, not necessarily in the day. So if in the day someone is elsewhere, they have not missed out on the sunnah. The actual sunnah is in relation to the nights, not into the day. Remember, in Mina, there's no necessarily specific ibadah that a person is doing. So one thing I would say is avoid gossip, avoid talking about worldly matters. You want to engage yourself in pretty much getting the mindset of Mecca. You want to recite Quran, you want to make dua, you want to do adhkar, and anything that will enhance our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is how Mina looks like. The encampments of Mina, I was just there before Ramadan. The preparations are pretty much year round. And now is in the process where they are really ramping things up, where they are going to be putting whatever things that they need to. But this is how Mina looks like. It's called the city of tents, and this is why. This is what inside the tents look like. So again, we are going to perform Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha of the 8th of Dhul-Hijjah. And then the next day, we are going to perform Salatul Fajr, which is going to make it a 5 salahs that we are going to perform in Mina. After we have performed 5 salahs, now it is going to be the day of Hajj, Yawm Arafah. Yawm Arafah, the day of the day that we go to Arafah is Al-Hajj Arafah. The Prophet ﷺ said, Hajj is Arafah. You miss this, you've missed your Hajj. So this is the most important day, not only because it's the main part of Hajj, but also because it is the most important time that you want to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the most important day of Hajj. Even a moment's stay from noon till the dawn of the next day is sufficient to fulfill the obligation. That means it is the most minimum amount that a person must stay. We are going to pray for Fajr Salah in Mina, which is on the 9th. From this Fajr Salah, Takbir Tashriq will commence until after the 13th, Asr of the 13th day of Dhul-Hijjah, which means just as as we've been doing before for those that have gone for Hajj, we begin to recite Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik, Labbaik la sharika laka Labbaik, Innal hamda wa ni'mata laka wal mulk la sharika lak, after every fard prayer. Then we will, after we have performed our Fajr on the 9th of Dhul-Hijjah, we are going to go to Arafah after sunrise. To leave before sunrise is against the sunnah, and chances of that is very little because that is the time when everything is getting started. Rest and relieve yourself of all of necessities before Zawal, because that is when the time begins for actually worshipping and truly calling out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what the plain of Arafah looks like. Understand that this is only used for maximum of 12 hours throughout the whole year. Throughout the whole year, the plain of Arafah is only used for 12 hours throughout the whole year. You can look at Jabal Rahmah on the right top side. That is where the Prophet ﷺ also made dua. And of course, the khutbah of Hajjatul Wada was done at that time. Wuquf of Arafah, remember that this is fard. The time is anywhere from Zawal to Subh Sadiq. The time meaning to fulfill this obligation. The wajib time, which means you must be there at this time, is from Zawal, meaning when Dhuhr time begins, until Salatul Maghrib. This is Masjid Namira. Masjid Namira is that masjid that is located at the plain of Arafah, that again is only used for one day of the year. One thing I would like to highlight is part of Masjid Namira is outside of the boundary of Arafah. So please be mindful. There is a very big sign that says Nihayatul Arafah, meaning this is the boundary of Arafah. Outside of this is not part of Arafah. So make sure you do not go in front of that area. Chances of you even getting to Masjid Namira are going to be very low. And going back to this, the mountain of Jabal Rahmah, please be mindful that you don't need to go there, especially in the heat, in the difficulty of the people and this and that. please do not push yourself unnecessarily to go there, because I will tell you from my personal experience, when we went, three gentlemen went and they ended up coming back in an ambulance because they suffered a heat stroke. So you have all the needs that you have within your tents. Stay hydrated, keep yourself at ease. But going to the Jabal Rahma, especially when it's at a 2-3 kilometer distance, can become very difficult, especially for those of us that are not used to dealing with that heat. So just be mindful of these things, and of course, make a better judgment for yourself. Method of wuquf of Arafah: perform wudu, and of course read Dhuhr Salah at the beginning time, and now that is when your wuquf has started. What are you to do in this time? Make dua, engage in adhkar, continuously cry and repent and make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for yourself, for the ummah at large. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring khair and afiyah to the ummah and those brothers and sisters of ours that are suffering throughout the world. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them khair and afiyah. Dhuhr and Asr is going to be performed in Arafah. We will not perform Maghrib there. Not yet. We are going to, on the 9th, now after Maghrib time has come in, we are now done with the idea of staying in Arafah. It is wajib to stay in Arafah until after sunset. So after Maghrib time has come in, we fulfill the obligation. However, do not read Maghrib Salah yet, as you will combine Maghrib and Isha at Isha time after reaching Muzdalifah. So we are going to delay Maghrib until Isha time, and we are going to perform it at Muzdalifah. This is the only time the Prophet ﷺ precisely combined two prayers in one time. That was clearly mentioned in the hadith. So we will delay our Maghrib until Isha time. Note, fulfill your needs, meaning wudu, istinja, and Arafah after sunset. No problem. Do what you need to do, and then inshallah continue on to Muzdalifah. What is the purpose of Muzdalifah? The purpose of Muzdalifah was really only for the Prophet ﷺ after spending the whole day in Arafah, engaged in ibadah, engaged in dhikr, engaged in dua. Now you're going to go to Muzdalifah and you're going to rest. That was the point. The Prophet ﷺ rested in Muzdalifah. In Muzdalifah, there are no tents. There are no tents. There's bathrooms, everything, but there are no tents. It's an open sky, and that is where you are going to be resting throughout the night. Once we get to Muzdalifah, we will perform Maghrib and Isha together, and this is the method that we will do. We will call an adhan, then we will make an iqamah, and then we will perform the fard of Maghrib. Then immediately after, we will perform the fard of Isha. Then you can perform the sunnah of Maghrib, and then the sunnah of Isha, as well as witr. There was a question that did the Prophet ﷺ perform witr in Muzdalifah? There's no clear text to my knowledge in regards to the Prophet ﷺ performing or not performing, so it's easily assumed. We can very safely assume that the Prophet ﷺ did perform it, so a person should absolutely perform it. Now, you will combine regardless of whether you are as a munfarid or muqtadi, meaning whether you are praying alone or you are praying in jama'ah, you are going to combine the two prayers. Fulfill your needs, food, drink, toilet, etc. Then do some ibadah and rest, sleep. It is sunnah to sleep. Personally for me, because of how spoiled I am, I was not able to sleep throughout the night. Maybe I got a few moments here and there, but that's the whole point of Muzdalifah, to just rest and try to sleep if you can. Now, while we are in Muzdalifah, we are going to collect 49 pebbles. These pebbles are for pelting the shayateen, and we will get to that when it's time. But just remember to collect 49. If you collect more, there is no harm in doing so. In fact, you should, just in case there are some errors. You are not going to collect any filthy pebbles, and neither pebbles that are from around the jamarat. This is what Muzdalifah looks like. And here you can see that building. That building is actually the washrooms. They have those throughout the area that you can use. Next, we have Wuquf Muzdalifah. It is helpful to note the salat times when in Mecca. Do not blindly follow others, as this may jeopardize your wuquf. Of course, if you have an app, it will be very easily for you to identify what the time is. Wuquf is wajib It is from Subh Sadiq until sunrise. Now, they are, when are we going to leave? We are going to leave in the morning after. The required time is that any part of before Fajr, once you get there. So there are two wujubs that we need to understand when it comes to staying in Muzdalifah. The first is staying some night, some portion of the night is wajib. You must do so. The second is once you get there, you stay there until Fajr. So both need to be conditioned. Both conditions need to be met. Number one is that we are actually staying in Muzdalifah. Second is when we get there, we stay there until Fajr. Now, there are certain exceptions that can be made for people leaving before the time of Fajr, and that is for elderly women or people who have special needs that need to leave before the rush. They are allowed to leave, but of course, those are exceptional cases. So we are going to stay, we're going to perform Salatul Fajr, then we will remain in Muzdalifah until just before sunrise. It may get extended, of course, because of the buses and this and that, but that's not a big deal at all. Now we are on the 10th of Dhul-Hijjah. This is the busiest day for the hujjaj. Why? Because there are four things that we need to do. Number one, we are going to get back to Mina. From Muzdalifah, we are going to get back to Mina after we have performed Salatul Fajr. When we get to Mina, we have to do four things. Rami. Rami is pelting only the big jamarah, which is wajib. We are only going to, out of the three shayateen, we are only going to pelt the first one, which is the closest one. Then we have to sacrifice the animal. When it comes to sacrificing the animal, you are not personally going to go do it. The group leader, Brother Fareed, will tell you an update on when and if it is done. This hadi must be done within the haram boundaries. It cannot be done anywhere else. That is one of the questions that was asked. Thereafter, after we've sacrificed the animal, we will have to do halaq or qasr, which is shaving or trimming the hair. And last but not least, we need to perform our tawaf ziyarah, which is an obligation of fard that we must do on this day. Time for 2 and through 4, meaning the time to do nahar, which is sacrifice, as well as shaving or trimming, and as well as for tawaf ziyarah, we can do it anywhere from the 10th of Dhul-Hijjah to the 12th of Dhul-Hijjah. So we have a flexibility of doing it whenever we feel that it is convenient. Generally, most people do it the same day. Remember the acronym PASS to remember the things that need to be done on this day and to pass your Hajj, because this note, this order must be kept in mind. Pelting must be done first. Only after that, you can sacrifice the animal. And only after the animal has been sacrificed, you're going to shave off the hair. Brother Fareed or the group leaders there will tell you when that is done, when the animal has been sacrificed, and then you can come out of the state of Ihram. You will still have Tawaf Ziyarah left. As I mentioned, now we are going to go back to Mina. Once in Mina, now our duty for today is to just pelt the big shaitan, the Jamarah, only with the 7 pebbles. That's all we have to do. Everyone who is fit must pelt on their own, and the timing to do so for pelting the Jamaratul Uqba, which is the biggest one, is first and foremost, it is makruh to do it from Subh Sadiq, which is from Fajr time until sunrise. You won't be able to do it anyways. The Sunnah time is anywhere from Zawal, sunrise to Zawal. Chances are you can do it, but it's not necessarily guaranteed. Zawal to sunset is where most chance of a person being able to do it is going to be then. It is makruh to do it after Maghrib, but of course it is still okay. Now, for reasons because of crowds and this and that, it will not be makruh for women to go after, and also for those who accompany them, because it does get very crowded, so there are exceptions to this rule. This is what the jamarat look like. So the first one will be right here that we see. and then there are 2 more that come after it. For the first day, we will only be doing 1. The next 2 days, we are going to be doing all 3. This is just a map. Rami, we are just going to go ahead and pelt the shayateen. Rami is the pelting of the shayateen. Let's look at the mas'ala. Pebbles should land in the boundary of the wall. If the stone bounces back or does not enter the boundary wall, then you will have to repeat, and that is why you should always take extra pebbles. It is very easy. The point is not to throw it with your full force. It's just to pelt the shayateen, so you don't need to go with your full force and take your anger out on the shayateen there. One may appoint someone for pelting only if there is a valid shari'i excuse. Congestion is not an excuse, but if they are elderly to the point where they can't make the walk or whatever other reason, then it would be okay. After that, we are going to wait for the organizers to allow us to know that if the qurbani or the hadi has been done. If it has been done, then we will go ahead and make sure that we go ahead and do our qasr or halaq, whichever we prefer. Of course, we are going for Hajj. I would highly recommend everyone to, for the men, to go ahead and shave. Now we are going to return to Mecca to perform tawaf ziyarah, as well as that sa'i that we mentioned earlier. This is generally when people perform it. If a person does it earlier, then they would not have to do it. The 11th day of Dhul-Hijjah is now pretty much us relaxing. Only thing that will be required on the day of 11th, which will be pelting the 3 shayateen. And the sunnah time is anywhere from zawal to maghrib. The makruh time, as mentioned before, will be after sunset to fajr. And again, the 12th of Dhul-Hijjah, we will do the 3 jamarat. We will try to leave the border of Mina before Maghrib Adhan on the 12th of Dhul-Hijjah. To leave after will be makruh. And if one does not leave by morning, meaning this is the morning of the 13th pretty much, they will now have to stay, and they will also have to do Rami on the 13th. So leave as soon as the time is, so you don't have to stay an extra day.
Mufti Ahmed, can I
Yes.
interrupt you? Can
Yes.
you emphasize the difference between from the 10th, 11th, and 12th, the fact that you have to do all the 3 jamarat?
So on the 10th and 11th, you're saying?
I mean, 10th you do 1, 11th, 12th you do all 3. I think you went a little bit fast on that.
Oh, my apologies. Yes. So keep in mind that on the 10th of Dhul-Hijjah, when we had now returned back to Mina, our responsibility is only to pelt the big shaitan, the Jamratul Uqba. That's it. And then we have other things to do, so our plate is already full. On the 11th and 12th, it's a relaxed schedule in the sense that we are going to be in Mina, and the only responsibility we have on these 2 days, if we've already done everything else like the tawaf ziyarah and all of that, then the only responsibility we have is relax in Mina and go to Jamarat and pelt all 3 shayateen. So that is the difference. For the 10th, we are only doing 1. For the 11th and 12th, we are doing all 3, but that's all that we are doing throughout the day, which is the Jamarat. Brother Farid, is that good? Any other point you would like?
Yep, Jazakallah
Okay.
khair. And
Well, yeah.
maybe if you don't mind also about making the dua after the second jamarat.
So, of course, yes, throughout the process, we want to be engaged in dua. And of course, throughout all 3, we want to be doing dua. So, this is something that we want to continuously be doing, as these are the times when, of course, Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam was confronted with the shayateen. And of course, he is the one who fought off these shayateen in order to fulfill the command of Rabbul Alameen subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, we want to be making sure that we are in the constant effort of making the du'as. So, after the 12th of Dhul-Hijjah, granted that we exited when we were supposed to exit and we did not stay until Fajr of the 13th of Dhul-Hijjah, we are going to go back to Mecca. Of course, organizers, when we go back to our hotel, at that point we have only one thing left, which is going to be Tawaf Ifada or Tawaf Wida'. Tawaf Wida', is that farewell Tawaf that we are going to perform outside of the Tawaf of Hajj. This Tawaf is wajib. So let me just put it this way. Anytime we've performed one tawaf outside of the tawaf of Hajj, outside of the days of Hajj, we have now fulfilled that. So if I perform like 10 tawafs after the days of Hajj, after my Hajj tawaf is done, even if I perform 10, the last one by default becomes tawaf wida'. So whatever the last one will be outside of the days of Hajj, it will be done. And we will be done with our tawaf, and our rituals of Hajj will be completed at that point in time. That concludes our fiqh aspect for this session. Now I am going to open it up to the question and answer, inshallah, and then we can go from there.
Inshallah, so what we will be doing is we will have consolidated the questions in categories. So inshallah, I'll ask the questions in categories to Mufti Saab so far. So if you still have questions that are not addressed, either you can put it in the chat or you can raise your hands if you want to ask the question live. We will first go through the questions that are already asked, inshallah, and then if we have time, inshallah, we will give people a chance to ask the question. So going through the list, the first question is can I use credit card for Hajj? I'm guessing this means that if I don't have the money to pay it off, can I still use credit card and go for Hajj?
Yes, of course, that's completely based off of a person taking that responsibility. If they do take a loan to go for Hajj, the obligation will be fulfilled. The question really matters is it obligatory for a person to perform Hajj if they don't have the means, or if they can use a credit card to do so? That is completely up to an individual on their capability of being able to pay back that loan without incurring interest. So, of course, that's completely okay. Not to take interest, of course, but to take a loan to go for Hajj, granted that you are going to do it in the halal manner. So that's no problem, and the Hajj will be fulfilled.
The second question related is, can I go for Hajj if I have a house that's not paid off yet?
Again, that would also matter on what your savings are and your capability of paying it off. So it's really based by case. It's very difficult to give a general answer to that. As long as a person does have the capability, then of course it will be obligatory upon them.
Mufti Ahmed, just so that you re-emphasize, when you talked about the credit card, you said the halal way. That means that credit card should not have the interest,
Correct.
basically, right?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. If you are incurring any amount of interest, then of course it will not be permissible. Keep in mind that when I said that, I'm keeping in mind that there are certain credit cards that do have like 12-month policy that they will not charge any interest. Then, of course, in that case, it would be okay. But for credit cards that will be incurring interest, it's absolutely not allowed.
Next question is, do we perform Hajj Tamattu, Ifrad, or Qiran?
Again, that is completely up to the individual. For those that are traveling outside of the miqat of Mecca, which is anyone that's pretty much listening to this, is going to perform either Hajj Tamattu or Hajj Qiran. According to the Ahnaf, Hajj Qiran is more virtuous because it incurs a lot more challenges, but Hajj Tamattu is easier, and I would generally recommend people to do that.
Next question is, for Ihram, will we make a stop at Dhul-Hijjah, or should we expect an announcement on the way?
That is really something that will be going through the organizers, whether they are going to stop in Masjid Dhul-Hijjah or not.
So a quick comment here will be for those who have packages which have a train in them. The train, you go to the train station and go from there. In that case, you will not stop, right? So you will do the niyyah before as soon as you leave from Medina station. For those who are going by buses typically stop, but again, depends on the logistics, like Mufti Sahib mentioned. Then next question is, can I change into a different ihram clothes? And I think you already addressed some of this, but yeah, can I take a shower?
Yes, taking a shower throughout the time of Hajj and changing from one clothing of ihram from the two pieces to another two pieces is completely okay, and there's no harm. And it may be even encouraged because of how hot it will be. There's no wrong. Of course, you're not going to use any scented soap or any scented things.
Can I wear sunglasses during Hajj?
Yes, you can wear sunglasses, you can wear belts, you can wear bags, you can wear knee braces.
Can you use perfume before putting on ihram and after taking ghusl?
After performing ghusl and before putting on the ihram, you are allowed to use perfume.
And I think the similar question, can we change ihram daily? Yes, you can. Uh, so somebody's arriving in Riyadh, and then from Riyadh, they will go to Makkah. Where should they put on ihram?
It will depend on the miqat. I'm not familiar with exactly where the miqat would be, but even if they get to Riyadh and put it on, it should be okay.
Can women braid their hair before ihram?
Yes, they can. They can even braid it after ihram.
Then the next question is, do we do ghusl and ihram in Medina and then do Nia at Miqat?
At Masjid Dhul-Hijjah, yes.
Can we wear a face mask to avoid infection?
To avoid infection, again, a person would have to, if in this case they wear a face mask, they would have to give fidya, and in certain cases it could even level up to the condition of dam. So it's not just for a medical reason to avoid as a preventative measure. It would not be okay, but if a person does so, they would have to give sadaqah.
Next question I think you addressed is, somebody's landing in Jeddah but going to Medina first. So in this case, you would not be putting on ihram. You would be putting on ihram when you go from Medina to Makkah. Uh, somebody wants to confirm the order of ihram, ghusl, and talbiyah. Can you
So you would don the clothing of ihram or the ghusl, right?
yeah, ghusl,
Okay, so you
ihram,
would take a shower
talbiyah.
first, then you would don the clothing of ihram on, and then you will make the sunnah, the two rak'ahs, and then do the talbiyah.
If traveling from Medina to Makkah, is the crossing of Miqat announced in train?
In train, yes, it is.
Uh, so how much fidya or how much sadaqah to be given in case of mistakes?
In case of mistakes, generally, so it's the general amount of zakatul fitr that we give would be the same amount that we give, and the recipients will also be the same. So that is how much to be given. So it could be anywhere from $10 to 15, 20, $30. A person should give based off of what they are capable of, and of course, they should give more rather than less, just in case some mistakes were done that we may not have been aware of. So generally, we should give anywhere from like $50 to maybe $100 in sadaqah, because there are so many moments and times where we can potentially do something that would be problematic that we may not even be aware of. So it's always better to be safe than sorry.
Is it necessary that hadi be performed before we remove hair?
Yes.
And can we do tawaf? And same thing for tawaf. Does hadi need to be done before we do tawaf?
No, tawaf can be done at any time.
And what is the difference between hadi and udhiyah?
They're pretty much the same thing.
The
Udhiyah is generally referred to in a general sense any slaughter that takes place, even for outside of Eid. I mean, for Eid al-Adha. So that's where the idea of Udhiyah comes. Hadi is specific to that of those going for Hajj.
So again, related to ihram, is it permissible to wear leather flip-flops during state of ihram?
Wearing flip-flops is okay. Again, the picture that was shown before in the type of flip-flops that need to be made sure that we are wearing those types are okay. What they're made of does not really matter.
I'm guessing they are probably asking about like stitches on the
Yeah,
shoe.
that would be okay.
Are watches allowed in ihram?
Yes.
Contact lenses?
Yes.
Let's see. So if we make a mistake, do we have to do it? How much time can pass between making the mistake? And does it have to be during the days of Hajj that we pay the fidya?
No, the fidya can be paid at any time. So yeah,
Okay. And it has to be in Makkah or can be given in the whole country?
it should be in Mecca, but there's no harm in giving it anywhere else.
Any shoe restrictions for females?
No, female can wear whatever is most comfortable to them.
And moving on, when does Takbir Tashriq start after Rami on the 10th?
It starts on the 9th day of Dhul-Hijjah from Salatul Fajr, and it ends at the 12th Asr.
I think you addressed this question about praying witr in Muzdalifah. Uh, are there any specific du'as for every round of tawaf?
Not necessarily. There are du'as that a person can make throughout. The one that is most authentic is the one about from Rukn Yamani until Hajj Aswad of Rabbana Atina Fid Dunya Hasana.
If the men are doing Ramal and the women are not, how do we handle getting separated from the family?
When you're doing Ramal, you're not running, you're walking just as a normal pace, because of which you won't necessarily. I mean, the chances of you getting separated are high regardless whether you do Ramal or not. That's just part of it because of the crowd. But this does not add any more reason why you would get separated per se.
Ittiba does it have to be done on 3 rounds only or on all 7?
Just the first 3 rounds.
Uh, is any wudu needed for sa'i?
No.
Can we do more than one umrah in the same day?
Yes.
And do you need to put a new ihram for each umrah?
New ihram on, meaning that new 2 pieces of cloth? No. Do you need to be in the state of ihram? 2 different states of ihram? Yes. So after you perform the first umrah, you will go to Masjid Aisha, make the niyyah again, and then you will come back and to perform another umrah.
Can I bring stones from home or does it have to be from Muzdalifah?
Muzdalifah.
Let me see if there are more questions asked in the chat.
Uh, Mufti, just quick question on that stone. I know some discussion has gone on about, getting the stones from China everywhere or whereas it has to be picked up from Muzdalifah. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, like, it's not a set in stone that you can't bring it from elsewhere. If you do want to bring higher quality stones from elsewhere, then you're more than welcome to, but it generally should be from Muzdalifah.
Is it Sunnah, Mufti?
It could be. I would have to look in that and double check.
Okay, all right.
But that
Jazakallah.
is where the Prophet ﷺ did it. So in that regards, it is sunnah because the Prophet ﷺ did get it from Muzdalifah.
Do we need to do an extra qurbani, like the regular qurbani that we use for Eid al-Adha, or just the Hajj one?
Just the first one would be suffice.
And in ihram, if you kiss Hajar Aswad, will dam need to be given?
Them will not be need to be given, but sadaqah will definitely need to be given because they perfume it just about at every salah. They clean it and they go ahead and put oud on it. So it would need to be sadaqah.
Is it fine to wear a splint on the finger in case of bone fracture during ihram?
Yes.
I think there's a question on the shoe. There's a picture in the chat. If you
That shoe, if it's by Akram, then
yeah,
that type of shoe is not allowed.
okay. And yeah, so basically, for those who are not looking at the picture, anything that's covering the instep or basically the upper portion area. So that's what the picture is showing for those who don't have access. And does the qurbani?
Wasim, sorry for interrupting. So for the best solution in our supplies list, we have taken, based on the recommendations from the Muftis, we have given a recommendation of what type of slippers. Take a look at it. It's in the supplies list. And then based on that, make your selection wherever else you can find it, inshallah.
Somebody asking when does dam become wajib versus just giving sadaqah?
So anytime some thing is done for a longer period for most of the day is when there will be them responsible. For example, if I'm wearing shoes that are not eligible for the ihram, if I'm wearing that for most of the day, more than 12 hours, at that point, dam will become uh, compulsory. So anything that is more generally for more than a day.
I think we already covered that qurbani has to be done in Makkah. It cannot be done in another country. Women's socks and shoes, they don't have
Okay.
restrictions.
Yes.
We already covered that. Supply list, inshallah, if you don't have access, we will share it in the WhatsApp group again. Uh, if something happened and you couldn't finish, Rajan, uh, not
Maybe
sure.
Rami.
Yeah, it
Rami.
might be coming. Yeah. So yeah, what do you do
Then you
if you
would
did one,
finish
for
that.
example, then you have to go back, so you come and do second and third, or can you to start from first?
If they left before finishing it, then they would have to give them.
What's the penalty for them?
Dam would be about $500-600, which we are now going to be pretty much slaughtering an animal for that. It might be less actually. I would have to recheck what the amount is.
So it's basically we have to perform a qurbani there, basically, right?
Correct. Correct.
Okay. Again, for just to add to that one, this is something that as I've said before, I want a clean license coming back from there. That means no penalty, no fines. But God forbid we do make a mistake, inshallah ta'ala, you can reach out to us and we'll arrange for the qurbani, inshallah.
Another picture for shoes is always a hot
Those
question.
ones can be okay. I just have to look at it carefully. But as long as the instep is not covered, those are the more convenient and better ones. That would be okay.
Somebody's asking if I cannot shave the head, can I instead give sadaqah?
You can trim the hair, and that would be sufficient as well.
Okay. And for elderly, can they use the electrical or the golf cart because they have difficulty to walk?
Yes.
I think I've covered the questions on the chat. So inshallah, we'll call out people who have raised hands. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow unmuting. What I would request is only the people who get called out, please only they unmute themselves. I don't want others to start unmuting as well, please. So the first one is Usman Muhammad. If you can unmute and ask your question.
And please limit the questions to only the fiqh and the ritual so that Mufti, we can make the best use of Mufti's time.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah, everyone. Inshallah, Jazakallah for organizing this session. Quickly, is it okay to take a breaks between Tawaf and Sahi?
Yeah, there's no need to do it right away. If even between the going the rounds, if a person takes a break, there's no harm in doing so. Especially after the completion of the 7 rounds, if a person wants to take a break, do the 2 rak'ahs, just relax for a bit, there's no harm in doing so.
Okay, another quick following question. It's pertaining to health issues. Like, say, if a person, for example, if anyone is like diabetic, he needs to take like insulin, like type 1 diabetic. Is it
Yeah.
allowed in the state of
Yes.
Ihram?
Yes, it is.
Okay, Jazakallah.
Oh, yeah.
Next hand up is Sadiq Ahmed.
Assalamu alaikum. Two quick questions. One, let's say you are traveling by train from Medina to Makkah in Ihram. You have donned the Ihram, you have done the Salah, and you sit in the train and it's announced. Is it necessary to have wudu or should we?
No. Once you've performed the 2 rak'ahs, you don't need to have wudu. You can make the niyyah without being in the state of wudu. Of course, when you're beginning to perform the tawaf, then you need to make wudu. But until then, you don't need to.
Yeah, once we reach Makkah, inshallah, we'll do. Second question, in one of the slides, you showed that you can do the sa'i of the Hajj ahead of time.
Yes.
When is that? How do you do that? I mean,
So once you've gotten into the state of ihram, for Hajj, you would go and perform a tawaf. After you perform tawaf, you would go ahead and make a sa'i with the intention of doing it for Hajj.
so just before going to Mina, you would do that.
Correct.
All right. So irrespective of what type of Hajj you are doing, this
Correct.
can be
Yes.
applicable
Yes.
for tamattu as well as.
Yes. Yes.
So right. Okay. Jazakallah.
Oh, yeah.
A couple of questions in chat is should I cut my hair in Makkah? I'm not sure what you mean, but yeah, basically you need to cut or trim the hair. This is a lady to come out of ihram, so you do need to do it basically after so to come out of ihram. And if it is the Hajj, yeah. So maybe if you can talk about Mufti Sahab, the cutting of the hair during the Hajj days. Maybe I don't know if they are talking about that. Where can they do it in Mina? Does it have a location specific? Maybe
Okay. There's no specific location as to where the hair needs to be cut. You can do it in Mecca. You can do it in Mina. You have a couple of people with you that just want to cut their hair in Mina. They can do that as well. There's no confinement of where it must be done. It can be done anywhere.
Okay. I believe that's all the questions. Anybody else has a question which has not been addressed so far?
Mufti, I saw some comment about the Jamarat slides going through so fast. I mean, can you bring up those slides and just go through them again?
Sure.
And one call out, maybe I think Farid, if you can, from a logistics perspective, I think if you can confirm is that we probably will be doing the tawaf on 11th,
Right.
not 10th, right?
Yeah, so we'll not be doing it on the 10th as a group. If someone wants to go on their own, that is up to them. But as a group, we are planning it on the 11th, inshallah ta'ala. Okay.
Another question is,
Before you move forward, Wasim, some of these things that Mufti has gone through, we do plan to cover it at a very, very high level in our later webinars. And if we feel like if there is a need to bring Mufti back, we will beg and plead with him to come back, inshallah.
For reference, Brother Farid doesn't have to beg me anything when he tells me I'm on.
So just relax. Don't get concerned that this is the only session. Mashallah, we can get the time. Inshallah, mashallah. They are very very willing to do this thing. Go ahead.
So inshallah, just covering the Jamarat again. The first Jamarat that we will be doing is going to be on the 10th of Dhul-Hijjah. Remember that this is the 10th of Dhul-Hijjah. We've already covered Arafah on the previous day, as well as Muzdalifah. From the morning of the 10th of Dhul-Hijjah, we're pretty much leaving Muzdalifah, and now we are going to our tents in Mina. Once we are in Mina, we are responsible for all of these things that you can see. Tawaf ziyarah, the last one, can be done at any time until the 12th of Dhul-Hijjah, until the sunset. But the first three is the three that we want to make sure we are focusing on, pelting only the big Jamarah. On the 10th of Dhul-Hijjah, we are only pelting the biggest Jamarah. As for the 11th and 12th is when we are going to be pelting all three. They are in order. So once we get to the first one, you'll see the second one and you'll see the third one as well. And that will be the order that we are doing it. So we'll first, let's look at the order that we want to do it. So we are going to pelt the first Jamarat, only one Jamarat on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. Then the animal will be sacrificed. And at that point, Brother Farid or one of the responsible brothers will inform you that the sacrifice has been done. Once that has been done, then we will shave off the hair or cut the hair and we will come out of the state of Ihram. This is only for the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. As for now, the 11th and 12th, just want to go ahead and cover that.
just quickly on that, because there's a question about that if we do the tawaf on 11th, do we stay in Ihram until 11th? Can you clarify that after we get out of Ihram?
No, you will get out of the state of Ihram at that point. Once you've shaved your head, you are out of the state of Ihram.
So when we go for tawaf on 11th, just for the brother who asked this question, we will be in regular clothes. So once you're out of Ihram, we'll be in regular clothes. And then if you go for tawaf, it will be in regular clothes.
Correct. So once we get to the 11th and 12th day of the Hijjah, our responsibilities, well, now putting it into context, as Brother Farid said, that we're going to do tawaf together. So on the 11th, we will do the 3 Jamarat, the first, second, and third. And then we will do tawaf ziyarah as well as a group on that day. And on the 12th of Dhul Hijjah, at that point, we're done with everything. Just the only thing that will remain on the 12th as well will be the Jamarat again. So we will go and pelt them 1, 2, and 3, and then we will be done with the Jamarat. I hope I was more clear this time.
Yeah, a lot of people, like Mufti Saab mentioned, right? This is a lot of information. So we will recommend that you go through this multiple times. There is a lot of items here, so it will take a little bit to get comfortable with it. So yeah, go through it and read, inshallah. And people have been asking about slides, so inshallah we'll share it through those as well. One question here, Mufti Saab, is when we go from Mina to Makkah for tawaf, do we only do tawaf or do we sa'i as well? From Mina to Makkah, when we go for tawaf with Ifada, then do we do sa'i as well?
No, well, yes. In this case, granted that we did not do tawaf, the sa'i before, we will do sa'i now. Most people are going to be doing sa'i now, so yes.
I see one more hand raised. Kay.
Assalamualaikum. Two questions. Can I put on the mask to protect from people coughing and infected? Number two, if I represent someone to do the Rami on the 10 and the person forgot to do it, and then they only tell me after I get to United States, they say, I forgot to do your 10 stoning. Then what happened?
So in the first case, you will have to give sadaqah if you put on a mask, because you are going against the conditions of Hajj. So you will have to give sadaqah. As for the second one, there's potential that you may even have to give dam because you missed a step of Hajj.
Can I pay the dam during when we already got back to United States?
Yes, yes,
What's
yes.
the dam? What's the difference of dam and sadaqah?
Sadaqah is a very small amount of a couple, like $15-20 per mistake, whereas dam is slaughtering an animal. So, of course, it would be a little more expensive. The price, I cannot guarantee what it would be, but that's something Brother Farid can coordinate with you if a person needs to do that.
Inshallah. Thank you. Jazakallah.
Next one is Muhammad Abdul Rahman.
Yeah, sorry to bother you. So actually, I just shared a picture of the sandal. So you said, is it permissible or was it, sorry, just a sandal or it wasn't a close-up? I'm sorry about that.
Yes, as for that picture, those sandals would be permissible.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Jazakallah khair.
Okay, Brother Wasim,
I
are we
think,
good to move forward?
there's one more hand. iPhone
Go
4.
ahead. As long as Mufti is willing to answer more questions, it's been about an hour and a half for him. So
Maybe this is the last question, inshallah. iPhone 4.
yeah, and I mean, I don't want you to guys to get alarmed. Okay, we still have almost a month left. We are going to repeat some of this information, maybe at a high level, maybe not as eloquent as the Mufti is, but we will cover some of these areas. So just relax. This is not the final one. Okay, inshallah ta'ala. Go ahead, Mufti, if you can answer the question.
Assalamu alaikum. I can ask the question?
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I have a confusion. Like when we did the Hajj Tamattu, at that time we did Tawaf and Sa'i. And when you say when we're going to go back from Mina during the Hajj time, from Mina to Makkah, where we do the Tawaf, is Tawaf is enough or still have to do the Sa'i again?
No, see, that first Umrah that you did, that sa'i was part of Umrah. It was not part of Hajj. So that sa'i is separate. After that, when you are doing Hajj, you will have to do the tawaf with the sa'i.
Clear now. So that was for the Umrah. Okay,
Yes.
Jazakallah.
Wayakum.
So one.
Sure. Back to you, Brother Farid.
Okay. All right, Jazakallah khair, Mufti Ahmed. Many times you might have heard me saying Mufti, Mufti. It's because I have known these young scholars from a very long time. Affectionately, I just call them Mufti. So, I don't want anyone to mistake that. MashaAllah, MashaAllah, these are excellent. The beauty about these two young Muftis they are more in tune with today's time. So when they can answer the question, they're answering with practicality, and that is the beautiful thing about having these two muftis with us. So inshallah ta'ala, jazakallah khair again, Mufti
Jazakallah
Ahmed.
khair.